Hello, my fellow board gamers, and welcome to the channel all about economic board games. Today, I'm going to be giving you an overview of this business economic game, Briefcase, and you can see the designers there as well. Now, this game plays 2 to 4, takes you roughly 45 to 60 minutes for this one, and it's sort of medium weight complexity. So what are you trying to do then in this game? Essentially, you're entrepreneurs and you'll be putting forward your business plans once you open your briefcase, and you'll be trying to build businesses. You've got a selection here and there's a host in the box as well. You start off with 8 of those orange ones and 6 of these red ones, and you've got this marketplace. Now, if anyone's familiar with Dominion and how that game works with this kind of deck building and deck management, it's very similar in this game, but a business type theme. Now, you start the game with a power plant. Now, you can see it's kind of got a grey side, and then once you activate it, you've got a colour side. And to do so, you need to pay these resources at the bottom. You've got 1 steel and 1 personnel, and you got at the top how many buy cards you need to get it, but you get this one for free. This is how many VPs it's going to be worth at the end, and this is what it produces. Now, sometimes it produces other resources, or it can produce these cards at the top, which help build your deck. So we have the power plant. You've also got this sort of yellow card, which is pretty much redundant. It's just used to store your resources, and you can have at the end of your turn a maximum of 5, and that's not including these energy ones here. You can have as many of them as you want. I'll go through all that in a moment. So your deck then, it's made up of the following. You've got these I can't remember what they're called now, 0 cards. You got your buy cards, you got your activation cards. That'll come back to me in a minute. But essentially, you're going to be using these buy cards. So this is your deck. It's going to be shuffled, and when you're ready, you're going to be drawing 4 cards. As I say, if you've played Dominion, this will seem obvious. And whatever 4 cards you get, this is what your actions will be. You'll be able to do on that turn. So let's just say I go first. These are my 4 actions. I have to play out these, put them in my discard pile at the far right here, and then next player can go clockwise. So activates then and buy. So I could buy, I'm trying to buy these resources, and you can see these 2, they're randomly at the beginning. These prohibit those resources from being dispensed, and you can move those by playing either 2 of any of the same type, so 2 of these, or that's what these are for. They're really useful for moving those, and you get like 6 of those in your hand to begin with. So what we're going to do, we can buy a resource, and why would we want to do that is because we want the resources matching here to build our business. So we could buy steel. So what we'd do, you can see it's currently blocked. So if we wanted to say spend these 2, we'd put them in our discard pile. We would move this to, let's say, concrete. We'd spend 1 buy to buy this steel, and we put that in our kind of warehouse over here. So we're already on the way to getting the resource. We then need the personnel, which is one of these, and there's a bit of strategy as to where you move these blocker signs, and once one of these piles have been diminished, one of those will disappear. So you got 1 more activate. You can't do a fat lot with that one. So let's just go for the resource. You got personnel, steel, you got paper, and you got concrete as well. And at the top here, you've got the energy I mentioned, and this is kind of like an imported good. You can use it for anything you want, and it costs you 2 buys. So all of these cost you 1 buy, whereas this one, which is really handy, will cost you 2 buys. Now, anything you use just goes in your discard pile. Once you finish, that goes there. Next player goes, you draw another 4 out, and once this is finally being used, you might have 1 left or none left. You're going to reshuffle this deck, and then it's going to be your new starting hand. Now, as you go along, you can add more buys. You can add these higher cards, which are great because it lets you use your other opponent's actions, or not so much actions, but you can get the production cards, which makes sense surely. You've got these ones you can add more to your hand, which help move these, and there's also some of these blue ones on the businesses as well, which you might want to move. You can hinder your opponents from buying certain businesses, and you've got these activate cards which let you do actions. At some points in the game, once you actually activated 2 of these cards here and you put them in front of you and done it, you can start basically getting rid of these buy cards to the central bank, and you can get these cards for victory points. Now, the game, depending on the number of players, will determine how many of these buy cards you have and activate, and how many of these victory points are out there, and how many resources, etc., because they kind of determine the game end. So I'll go through that now. The game will literally end when either 2 of these piles have run out, there's no more of these companies left, or I think there's no more buys as well on there. And there might be one more that I'm missing. So let's have a look at these businesses then. So you can see the shopping mall here. Top left, you will have to pay 2 buys for that. Top right, you can see it's worth 2 victory points, and you're going to need at the bottom left a concrete to fulfill it, and then you're going to be getting at the bottom is your production, which is going to be a buy, which is basically one of these cards here. You get to put it in your discard pile, and that means you've got more purchasing power as you go along. But the problem is you've only got 4 cards to reveal at the beginning, so you might want to get, is there any out here that lets you expand your hand size? Pretty sure there's always one. Let's have a look. Yeah, this one here at the bottom of the bank lets you have at the start of your turn +1 card, which is great. And you can see every time you activate these, so let's just say we decide to buy, let's get something interesting actually. Let's go for the cargo company. So let's just say you have 2 buys in your hand, you've paid the 2 buys to your discard pile, so you don't actually get rid of them, they just get recycled. You bought a cargo company, you can buy them at any point, doesn't mean you've actually activated them. And then you can see you're going to be needing a steel and an energy. Now you can only produce energy, I believe, from your power plant, which is why you want to kind of get that produced early on. And you can pay these resources again and use the activate card to keep activating as many times as you've got the goods to do so. And once you've done, you will get this card immediately, so you turn it over and you'll get the buy production card. You paid those and you can spend them again. Kind of the light bulb represents that it's active and not active, but I think the colours do that well enough anyway. And in this case, you can avoid one of these kind of prohibiting cards. So in this case, if you have the cargo company and you really wanted, this paper or this concrete, you're able to ignore that and get the resource you want. We've got things like logistics companies, we've got accounting firms. You can use any free cards to be either a buy or a action, and you can see once you produce it, you're going to get one of them higher cards as well. Now while we're here, the higher card, you don't actually start with any of those in your hand, but once you get them and they come out, you can then use one of your opponent's production cards. So let's just say you can't really afford, where's the theme park? This theme park, because it costs 3 buys to get it. And you've only got a 4-hand limit. So if you don't manage to get the bank to increase your hands and you don't have enough buys, you might want to use the higher one to borrow your opponent's card. And in this case, you'd pay half the resource to them and half to the discard pile. And you would activate this, which would get 2 buys, which is great because then you've got more buys in your deck and potentially get, your own theme park with 5 victory points. You can see it's actually got no action of its own. Some of these, like the real estate agency, they got actions. So that little briefcase means at the end of the game you're going to get 1 VP for various bits and bobs. What else we got? So you can see they've all got various actions. And there's a host more in the box. Now when you begin the game, you can either select using these distributing cards, and they kind of tell you how many to use in a 2-3 player game, and they have all the different types of companies in the game, so you can kind of shuffle them up and you can choose your starting setup basically. And in the rules as well, you've got various different games. You've got a simple game, fast game, complex, and it kind of helps you determine which ones to choose from. So just to recap then, the essence of this game is deck building essentially of this business economic vibe. You're trying to develop these businesses, you're trying to turn them over and activate them, you're trying to get the resources to then be able to get more better cards for your deck, to then buy better businesses, and then you probably get about 3 or 4 businesses, and you're trying to develop that chain of producing goods, and then you're going to be using your buys in the central bank to get victory points, and trying to get victory points from your businesses, make connections and get some nice synergy going. And that is pretty much the game then. So for me, I really enjoy this one. For that 45-60 minute mark is a little bit of setup trying to get it all going, because you've got so many different businesses, and these cards are really handy. And I do like the rule book. It helps you figure out a fast and slow game. Really works well with 2. With 4 players, I think I'd probably get a bit fed up of AP, to be honest. There's some strange moments with these. You're like, how do I move these? But that's kind of where these O cards come into place, and there's loads of them. Some of these businesses let you discard these as well. So there's a lot of interesting things going on here. And there we have it, folks, Briefcase.